The Trump administration is keeping a close eye on Iran. A Gulf official tells CBS News that Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Oman, and Egypt have all engaged in diplomacy to try and lower the temperature between Iran and the U.S. Sources also tell CBS that Iran threatened to attack multiple countries in response to a potential U.S. strike. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says what happens next is up to President Trump.
The truth is, only President Trump knows what he's going to do. And as we saw yesterday, he had heard that the killings and executions would stop, and we have seen 800 people, their lives have been spared as a result of that. The president continues to closely monitor, but also keep all of his options on the table.
CBS News senior national security correspondent Charlie D'Agata joins us now. Charlie, where do things stand, and what do we know about this threat from Iran that they would potentially attack other countries should the U.S. strike?
Yeah, Lindsay, in a nutshell, the United States is poised to attack Iran, and Iran is poised to retaliate, as we reported, not just against U.S. targets in the region, but against neighboring countries. And I want to take you back to about 24 hours ago last night. We were all on a knife's edge because we were expecting, or at least anticipating, an attack, a U.S. attack on Iranian targets. Iran had closed its airspace. They put out a NOTAM, which is a notice to airmen, which essentially keeps commercial airlines out. But it also is a message to the United States that any aircraft that would be seen in Iranian airspace would be considered an adversary and therefore fair game. And it got so tense that the U.S. Embassy in two countries, we're talking Qatar and Saudi Arabia, told Americans explicitly to avoid going to military bases, and there was a drawdown of that major base, the largest U.S. air base in the Middle East, Al Udeid in Qatar, which gives you an idea of how they were preparing for this. And Al Udeid had come under a sustained attack from Iran during the last bombing of Iran, the nuclear sites over the summer, when this base, which has 10,000 military personnel, was reduced to literally dozens of people. 44 soldiers manned the Patriot systems in order to thwart that attack from Iran. So where do things stand right now? From what we understand, there have been channels of communication that have been opened. The Iranians, there haven't been the widespread protests, which is what President Trump had said that has to stop. Otherwise, the United States is going to intervene. So that has been turned down a little bit, but they are still militarily postured. The United States is there. They've got plenty of assets in the region. They got stealth fighters, heavy bombers. They can bring in B-2 bombers from the United States, which have been brought in before. But they're not as forward postured as they could be. And we've learned, or at least we're tracking, that the USS Abraham Lincoln might be headed to the Middle East from the South China Sea. That would change things considerably because, you know, when you talk to the military, as I have spoken to the military this morning, when they have a clear objective, they have targets, strike packages that they need to hit, but they also have to consider what retaliation looks like and if U.S. forces in the region are protected. That might happen if you send a carrier in there.
What are you watching for over the next few days?
Well, you know, the Iranian regime has been very vocal lately. They've been on U.S. television, our television. So I think they're doing all they can to find some sort of diplomatic way around this. They know that the heat is on. This is an existential threat to the regime. This isn't taking out their nuclear program, but this is a threat to the regime itself. I'd be looking at an uptick in the U.S. military presence. So if the USS Abraham Lincoln is on the way there, as we believe it to be, it's not just the Lincoln, it'll be several destroyers. Those destroyers can fire Tomahawk cruise missiles. That is where you would see a forward military posture. I mean, if you look at Venezuela, for instance, right? The USS Gerald R. Ford was sent there because of the military operation there. If you're going to launch a major military operation in the Middle East, a carrier would need to be in the neighborhood.
Charlie D'Agata, once again, thank you.
Thank you.